Hello world. So the plan for the species, this is also species coach. The plan is to, just like computers, but greater than and more finite than why and how computers have to work the way they do. And uses of words like instance, uses of words like simultaneous, uses of words like identity, like sequence. And for example, so time is used always too fast and simultaneously too slow, consciously, by those involved with NAS, modern legal natures, referring to what is positive or negative to itself as identities, identity of volume, per NAS volume science, per NAS relativity science, with science first. See how offensively they have physical delusions mixed also with rules, crimes, predators. So we can't overcome it. And I rules with identity theft fraud method originally here, sophistication before our parents were even, founding parents were even born. This was all locations tied to databases as a value/value progression system the ancients had perfected knowledge of. That there was already a semi-ancient archetypal criminal enterprise, if you will, a human fact treatment nature breaching method, known, recorded. It's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed self-value, being and having been blamed on other things, others themselves. The proofs of it, like witch trials, are like how, all the proofs of how our founders left us to demonstrate that they had words forced on them. Simultaneously, we're supposed to defend the Constitution unabridged, but this has not happened. They have a quality of fact treatment nature incapable of defending itself towards what they labeled the insurrection, that can't defend itself and us from what exploits that and uses it remotely increasingly, while they're increasingly they're self-valuing that having been. So the styles of it are styles of premises treatments, again, that are delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence, rules, predators, rules. The fabrication of audio and video on and off interbranch locations. Other countries, the same thing. Vaccine. They never had integrity in other words, when they speak about like end all be all regarding business, oh well, this is resources though. You know, they're leaving out the rules with those end all be all, but they're exploiting exceptions in exception nature. In other words, they have no problem like that to go set up, you know, recoveries to war zones, but no recovery to where and how all private was. Interbranch was still forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded, only capable of being collusion with that breaching method to all locations. Databases oriented since before computers. They're attaching lies to truths and making up complete ones simultaneously, using truths for lies. You know, when they pretend not to realize that and how. All litigation regarding computers, all fact treatments regarding computers, they left out and leave out. We can't leave out and tell American history properly. Not by accident, they're self-valuing it, having been and being originally and still taught by people who had criminally foreign influence education, which is everyone. Denials of that, opinions of that, they're preventing mandated law. So they're preventing the evidence is outside of court. So they can get back into courts to have perfected using time always too fast, too slow, to hide their rules with remote uses of them with a vertical and horizontal databases oriented relationship /S. Further, intersciences, consciously abridged, that methodically, consciously maintain self-value. Further, you know, so we have to deal with this for each age of fact treatment nature. The elderly find out when they're in retirement homes too late. The And they blame things correctly, like lawyers, but they're doing it wrong. And the boxing is strong. Your time is used too fast, too slow simultaneously to get over on forever nature, which identity is. Only the extent of it is debatable. And so everything shows that identity has a semi-nature relationship to itself, and English was revealed by the ancients to teach this, which is way more probable and more practical than what is furthered as legitimate reception of historical facts. The defenses of that as well are recorded increasingly self-valuing, criminally foreign influence premises treatments, sequence treatments, identity treatments, finite, active, progressive treatments, where and how we are, value/value progression, where and how evolution science causes evolution's fruits, gifts, means from nowhere, but only one way, as the way of ways, simultaneous. Only thing that can be simultaneous is one of the ways. It is in demonstration of itself as an identity of volume that is invisible but still discernible. So the ancients understood how it is one, an identity as one, but its identity is also has grouped parts. For example, it is a semi-nature has 5 sequence natures. It can only stay whole. So it is simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously 3 semi-natures. In other words, the finite, the active, and the progressive are bound as 3. And what is more finite than the order of the finite, that when order of the finite since it first was generated, the identity of value/value progression that was generating it, per science, with the obligations, needs to have a scientific value for communication to be of a quality of fact, cheaping nature. Again, for example, to be able to counter natures of criminal insidiousness originally instilled with private criminal insidiousness natures like wrongdoers, wrongdoing, styles of human fact, cheaping nature. Note, styles of uses of other people's names, uses of titles, locations, the truths used for lies, criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, styles pretending others, screening it. It's a breaching screen. It's here and there. It's everywhere, boxing. And so, we could use temporary locations the same way microchips, they have printed onto them temporary locations. And then they could use the temporary / lasting in the sense that when they turn off the computer, the CPU memory locations, you remember what was remembered into it, what was saved into it. If you turn off the computer and things weren't saved, like what was going on with the microchip locations, those are only temporarily available when the computer is turned on, when it is connected to the circuit. So they have those 3. So what we could do is make use of that the same way we make temporary locations. We make a whole bunch of reasons and ways to do this. Everyone wants at once, like making a hypertribe, giving them temporary pleasure so we could get on the same page. So in other words, even the resources to make everything, things that we shouldn't even have to pay for, that paying for it is only going to take away from the final outcome. In other words, we can't pretend that there's free business when we have the private, originally still victims, but victim predators with the legal identities. Victim predators too, remote use, pretending others, screening it. In other words, we can't pretend that freedom ever started. We can't pretend that the Constitution is on the bridge. That's why they have to follow mandated law outside of courts. That's why they're hiding behind. They have a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act, See, when you say that, people don't know about that, so they refer to experts. The experts use and have been using the right to lie, to hide remote uses of themselves, individually grouped and together. That's why it is so critical to understand how also people involved with our side, with the World Trade Center attack, how leading up to it and since they've had roles within as investigators, hundreds of nations at once. We can't separate subjects, because then it comes out where they use the criminally foreign influence readings of statutes. It becomes too expensive to have the quality of fact, keeping nature proper. And so they just divert to, backing whoever had the titles and roles with investigators, and formal fact treatments interbranch, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. For example, evidence reception in the executive branch is distinct and is non-distinct simultaneously, and is simultaneous with the judicial branch. And now they've been sequence shifting together and switching and forging names because of remote uses of how distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously they use and have been using the right to lie, and have been using criminally foreign influence methods of fabricating audio and video to databases, collusion with that being and having been already stacked into databases, in conjunction with acting off the campus's locations, off the private locations tied to that, specifically to consciously use time always too fast, too slow, interbranch, to have other people use it effectively, because they have remote uses of their complete identity. This is why we have to understand first how this breaching method is against Native Americans. They make people self-value that. In other words, me, I'm not Native American, so we'll all have to admit, for a fact treatment nature, why? Because when it comes down to it, we're going to be making convictions and opinions more capably than the people have been making them formally. And then this reveals that, they can't stand by. I mean, there's chaos, not by accident. It's how everyone was backed into, and as an overt criminal enterprise /S, and denials of roles with overt criminal enterprises, increasingly self-values. Everyone blaming the overt criminal enterprises and the private ones, the causes of among other things, others themselves, as styles, defending that too, defending premises treatments, time treatments. So they have New Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts, other Connecticut courts, on off the state judicial branch offices. They've been hiding information from the federal judges, and long enough to keep them self-valued roles themselves, having come up through what is each age of fact treatment nature on off all campuses, even including the differences between homeschool and non-homeschool and private school, is what is exploited. They're lying about, kids' names, adults. They're using methods where everyone's speaking through others is preventing people responses. People who don't know each other. Where if they go back and to debate that, it shows where and how being used remotely was interbranch in the past, where they were with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, kept needing to hide sequence shifts, finite active progressive lies, roles with identity thefts and frauds. So they make instances where someone says something to someone right when they're going to walk around a corner or something like that. In other words, as a truth they could use to lie, to pretend they know that person. And these are people attaching kids and people of all ages to fake locations, fake words, even fake pleading in cases, even fake outcomes of cases. So when they debate on Fox News and on CNN with each other, they're doing fake sides. In other words, they have election crime rules. Both political parties recorded used remotely originally and still. So they have Wethersfield Police over the past 4 months. And since before this, way since before, they've been stacking more names. Now they have people with the name Officer Sullivan who is reportedly a woman. So we have punk, sick, fake men involved with my town's police chief, Cintron. Also with overt criminal acts by people with that name. And his family members. Interculturals, in other words. Fake news put me to fake words. They also do that to keep the locations. The locations next to the fake news are involved with the intelligence community, criminally foreign influence used remotely through time. Same ones who attach me to fake words. I can't get a response. You call on the phone, they pretend not to understand you. They attach me to fake words, fix the fake words. You see, this is they force equality of fact, cheap nature outside of courts where they have arrays of opinions and of convictions, but if you observe them, they have everyone speaking through other people's. All exceptions of exception nature are in demonstration of the same thing. They have remote uses of the sensibilities. In other words, the only way they could pretend to passions and emotions with their motivations, where they're dishonest about that. So is by not following the rules. So mandated law has not been followed since before the World Trade Center attack, where in New Britain, Connecticut, West Hartford, Connecticut, people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed things that people from Wethersfield, Connecticut years ago had recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with that same location. Not by accident associated with a convicted serial killer. Not by accident recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Involved with predicate acts with the people that put him away and that house him in jail. That are fact-cheap in nature, oriented. Identity theft, fraud, since before that, involved with the body dumping spot in West Hartford, in the edge of West Hartford, New Britain. They have the leaders of the businesses there, not by accident, having been involved with investigators, vetting identities, uses of other people's names, identity thefts and frauds before that and since. So they've been using their roles with such and a principal child defender, the same ones involved also with the World Trade Center attack, World Trade Center in Washington, D.C., and interstates. So the proper thing to do is follow mandated law. Stop making allegations, calling names to people who are asking to have mandated law. They're switching names. Wethersfield Police has men and women involved with the Wethersfield town offices also. People that answered the phone for them for years ago, and one now, involved with people with some ecstasy and untimely deaths on Trinity College, untimely death rolls, uses of the untimely death rolls, also involved with identity theft frauds, with the forging names and switching names interbranch, where they've also been doing this on and off campuses. The same ones involved with the principal child defenders campus. Now, so they've been delaying time, because the whole time in the background they've been putting, other investigators were used remotely. They've been putting fake things in there. They've been doing that with the Britain Superior Court through time. They've been using Facebook pages for even sexual crimes with little kids, even medical crimes. They have a Leahy family attached me to fake words, fake locations, with a CM Faglione family recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. That an O'Brien family, police forms with Hartford, and people associated with Mr. Pruzzi, people that used to be involved with the campuses for years, other principals and their family members, other people with the courts, their family members, the police chief's family members, all used to keep them needing to hide sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lives, identity theft, frauds at the same time, timed. So we have to have what is simultaneously as a subject. See, we have people playing stupid and switching subjects. They have fire departments, intercities involved with the identity theft frauds, with instances, no. So they have you all programmed. They have you calling people names, making theories about people, using medical terms of clinical psychologists that are themselves delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence since founding, attaching me to fake conversations with themselves. So they have locations where they have to deal with bad things and people all the time. not by accident originally still, but using that to get over, pretend that was just regular stuff, and they're using it to pretend good people, which everyone is really. But they're lying about people's behavior, putting them in fake conversations with themselves and others. The same ones involved with the untimely deaths, on and off the child programs locations, like kids programs, even Cub Scouts through time used with this. Even the religious locations, they have sensibility. Everyone who wants to have private conversations. See, confessions. Real leaders knew that they would have to counter people using confessions into branch criminally foreign influence, but also the people with the church would have to, their own people would be using it criminally foreign influence. So you can't get a response from people. You can't get, so with the names forging and switching, interbranch is juxtaposed with the private outside of the interbranch, with the inside too, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. So they're aligned too, and forcing them roles with them, the higher courts. They're denying mandated law outside of courts, and they have all these punk trick, fact treatment nature games like little kids, so they could keep getting away with criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, pretending people have integrity of logic that don't. Originally, still criminally foreign. That's why we're going to war. Still, you have some sick identity theft fraud rule, and you're wasting my time. It's worse than extortion. Since before the World Trade Center attack, listen to that. I asked you and others for response. Not only, and there's a trail of the people I asked for responses to things, for help, because in other words, for them to use mandated law with their titles. They and others that I had no communications with pretended to hold detailed conversations fake, because they're trapped. Because leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since, all investigations, the World Trade Center has even insurance investigators recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed involved. All kinds of medical racketeering, people associated with uses of all the kids when I was a kid. In other words, like Joe Dennis, nice kid. I never had a conversation with his brother John Dennis. His neighbor, former Mayor Gold, his daughter, I never met his son. But his daughter, I know she's recorded, confessed, demonstrated. They use tricks where she comes up to me yelling when I was a little kid from another classroom, and then they put a record, and they go to the teacher, and they made it look like I was in communications with her before that, and they lied about what is in that context, which is relevant because those are the people involved with the phone games now, and with the Facebook used by the courts and the police forms and the military involved with the child sex offenders, fake conversations with people, attaching little kids and their family members, fake locations. You better get them off my name too, and you get a better response for Hartford Hospital and the other hospitals involved with this. Per how they cover their life program, they even attach me fake being in hospitals, etc. Get someone on paper now.